this very special edition of ET Now Startup Central. We are holding a special session for you on payments because it's really become one of the most keenly watched topics in India, especially in the last week. There's been a lot of developments to really get everyone excited about payments. We've heard about the unified payment interface kicking off last week, and to really find out, if this is indeed a WhatsApp moment as far as Indian banking is concerned, a WhatsApp moment as far as payments in India is concerned, we have a very special panel for you. We have Manoj Adlakha, who is the CEO of American Express India Operations. Thank you for joining us, Manoj, to give us perspective as far as the online side is concerned. We have Makemytrip's co-founder and CEO Rajesh Magow, and we also have a mobile wallet that's raised a big round of funding in the last week. MobiKwik's co-founder Upasana Taku. Thank you all so much for joining us in this discussion. I just want to get opening comments from all of you, Manoj, Upasana and Rajesh, in terms of how you assess the payment landscape, the digital payment landscape, so to speak. Is it safe to say that this is a tipping point, a WhatsApp moment as far as Indian banking and Indian lending is concerned?
So you're absolutely right. This is a tipping point, and if anything, there is, it's an amazing growth story that is happening globally, and India is no different. India is also growing dramatically. When you look at the CAGRs that we're experiencing in India in the digital ecosystem, the growth rates could be anywhere in the range of 35 to 40%. It's our estimate that the e-commerce market, and when I'm giving you a number here, I'm excluding travel, that is in the range of about $40 billion as we talk today, and that is growing at 35 to 40%. So it's a very exciting space to be in, and American Express itself, when you look at what we are doing with our card members, today 1 out of 2 transactions that happens at American Express is happening online.
Right. You want to comment on that, Upasana?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an amazing time to be in the payment space in India. Personally, I find it very gratifying that, MobiKwik and, we are a part of this journey of India's evolution. But that said, it's just a beginning, because 95% of transactions in India still happen via cash. It is $1 trillion market currently, and we see huge opportunity for various different formats to coexist, and the digital / mobile payments opportunity is very large. We feel very gung-ho about it, which has kept us and the team pumped to work on it. It's only the beginning, where we've seen now millions of users adopting digital payments as their most trusted way to pay, and I think over the next couple of years we'll see hundreds of millions of Indians going digital, and I think that will be a far more interesting story for you guys to cover.
Right. Rajesh, clearly Manoj and Upasana excited there about the trends we are seeing, but Makemytrip's been one of India's oldest internet companies. You've weathered multiple boom and bust cycles. What is your own sense about the trends that we are seeing as far as payments are concerned? Every few years, we tend to get excited about credit card and debit card and wallets, but is it really different this time around?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very encouraging actually to see ever-evolving digital payment ecosystem in India. If you really look back, and we can go as back as when we started our operations in India, or in 2005-06, and maybe before that when we launched our business US India, which was 2000. I mean, if I see the journey, from 2000 to 2016. If there is anything that has really evolved in the internet ecosystem, enabling the e-commerce business, has been the digital payments. From time to time, there are many innovations actually that have happened. It started with only credit card, and then the debit cards, and then the wallets came in. In fact, that was another very smart move, maybe prompted by RBI, and maybe because the conventional banking system was actually not necessarily coming up to speed, and perhaps was a wake-up call for them, and therefore now UPI. So, UPI is very encouraging, very different. I think it will give us reach. Fundamentally what they're trying to do is to also address the cashless, transactions, the cash economy that is there. Like Upasana said, I agree. I think there's a long way to go still, because about 18% of GDP, from in value terms actually gets transacted today in cash, which is like huge. And, if you look at the size of the digital transactions per capita in the whole country, there's just about 6 transactions in a year.
Right.
Whereas totally, if you really think about it, I would have thought there are about 6 transactions in a week, if not in a day. So there's a long way to go. Interesting you call it as a WhatsApp movement. The most important part of WhatsApp was that it went viral. Would love to actually have UPI actually going viral.
We'll have to wait for, whether it'll go viral, because when I spoke to NPCI last week, the biggest banks, SBI and HDFC, were not yet on board as far as UPI is concerned. So I guess, I don't know if it'll go as viral as WhatsApp, but there's hope. But another interesting trend that I, really wanted to pick your brains on, and Upasana can come in first and maybe Manoj later, is something that Nandan Nilekani said recently about the nature of transactions. He said that, we are moving from low volume, high value, high cost to an era of high volume, low value and low cost. Now, what kind of opportunity and a threat does this present? I'm sure it's an opportunity for MobiKwik, but I'm not so sure if it's good news for the likes of American Express. Upasana, you want to come in first?
So, just to be clear, you are talking about UPI and its impact, right?
No, I'm talking about the overall nature of transactions that we are seeing. That we are seeing more of high volume, low value and low cost transactions happening through mobile payments, through digital payments.
Yes, that's right. So, there is always a start. And what we've seen is that Indian users will not try to first buy a fashion apparel or a stylish watch using a wallet or a mobile payment solution. They would start with a need-based transaction, and that need could be as simple as their mobile recharge or paying their electricity bill or booking a train or bus ticket, because that's really a need transaction. You really need to take a bus or a train, and it's actually very inconvenient to stand in queues and purchase a ticket. So even a user who is very skeptical of moving to digital payments and prefers to use cash might actually attempt this transaction, which is low value, and therefore the risk is low and the upside is very high. It's very convenient and it solves a real problem in that user's life. And therefore a lot of the masses who are now adopting mobile wallets like MobiKwik are starting with these kinds of transactions. But when I look at their growth trajectory, so when we look at our user cohorts, people who started using the wallet for these kind of transactions 1 year ago, today they are doing many more high value transactions also. So I believe it's a journey, and the users will evolve. They will definitely start with low value, but they will eventually accept mobile payments into their everyday life, and whatever transactions happen in their everyday life, whether it is purchasing vegetables or whether it is ordering food from a Domino's, all of that will also start growing further.
Right. Manoj, how much of a threat or is this for you in terms of the nature of transactions we're seeing, that from low volume, high value, high cost, it's now moving to high volume but low value and low cost?
So the way we look at it is, at American Express, we clearly have leadership in the affluent segment. Having said that, we're also broadening and deepening our reach. And as we do that, whether it's an affluent or aspiring affluent, these people also have needs in terms of low ticket sizes. So, to the point Upasana just made, there could be utility payments and other payments which could be, maybe even 500 or 800 or 1,000 odd rupees. When you look at some of the enablers that the government or the RBI has put in, so as an example, now there's a second factor authentication. So anything less than 2,000 rupees, you don't need any kind of second factor authentication. So those have enabled far more, incidents of digital transactions. So when we look at our own base, I gave you a number earlier, 1 out of 2 transactions which are happening, a lot of low value transactions, which earlier would have been typically, cash on delivery. Now they've also moved actually to people who are comfortable now using their credit cards on, as against cash earlier. So we are seeing what I would think a revolution that is happening in this space.
Right. But Manoj, a quick follow-up question there. People also expect, card-based transactions to give way to mobile banking with, mobiles replacing the card as the what you have authentication factor. So again, how are you going to adapt to this new environment, to this new normal?
No, that's a great question because, when I look at the base that we have, at American Express, there is actually 100% overlap, not only with mobile phones, but with smartphones. So what we do is we take the entire customer journey, we take it in its entirety, right from the time a prospect, that means even before, that person becomes an American Express customer, we are addressing and attracting that prospect through a mobile phone. So that's the way we onboard a customer, while we do have, the traditional sales channels. And then through the journey, it's mobile. At every touch point, we are getting in touch with customer on the mobile. A mobile app is bread and butter for us. The one thing I would like to add is a functionality which is unique to American Express. It's called Easy Click, and it's a great functionality because it gives you a one-click ID with which you can check out. This, in effect, is a form of a mobile wallet. And, much before any mobile wallets came onto the scene, American Express had introduced this 3 to 4 years ago.
Right. Rajesh, I wanted to really come in on, the reason why we are seeing so much of excitement. In all the years that, you've been at Makemytrip, is it perhaps the first time that we are seeing a lot of the enabling infrastructure sort of coming together to facilitate digital payments? You, of course, spoke about UPI, but, there is the India stack, you have the Bharat bill payment system, you also have, Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile. So, I mean, is it for the first time that we are seeing multiple factors, which is why we are seeing a lot of interest here? Or again, would you put it down to the herd mentality that we see among venture capitalists? One or two invest in payment startups and, suddenly all the excitement catches up. Give us a realistic assessment of the way you see things.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair comment. A lot is happening in the payment space for the last actually, maybe about 5 years. I mean, at a rapid pace. I mean, the innovation did start with wallets, and there are a bunch of wallet startups that came in. And there is, backbone innovation that is happening from NPCI and the UPI and so on. So there's a lot of focus, when you actually go and talk to RBI, there has been, and for over the years, for the last, and it has really picked up speed in terms of what they want to do, including the payments bank and so on. So I think it'll be a fair comment to make that, a lot is happening at this point in time like never before. But I would still maintain that, we have to, this is like a, constant evolving, innovation journey, if you will. That we will have to just continuously keep doing it because, and the reason why I insist on that all the time is that, one of the factors, which we always constantly monitor, at least on the merchant side, is the payment failure rates. So while you have, new innovations that have come up, but, the improvement in terms of technology upgrades and all of that has to happen with the long tail of banks, with the backbone, in such a way that the consumer experience is seamless. The consumer experience, you don't want, for this to be like a mega success. You don't want, a consumer come in, selecting a particular option, having like 2 failure rates before he could potentially succeed. So I think some of those, fine-tuning, the, regular innovation, regular technology upgrades will continue to happen. But a lot is happening at this point in time for sure. There's a lot of focus, and right. I think it is the greatest enabler of the overall internet e-commerce business. And maybe just before you go to the next one, I wanted to add one more comment to your previous question, since there was a lot of focus on the high value transaction, and I didn't think it was actually, while there are a lot of people, new internet users, e-commerce players coming in with the low value transaction. But I wouldn't call it as actually a trend, but because I'll tell you there is a trend building for high value transactions. If you look at Makemytrip site or the platform, and the value of transactions that we have it on our platform, it ranges from 6,000 rupees to actually as high as 100,000 rupees. I mean, and the plenty of transactions that have happened that have been growing actually with an average transaction value of about 20,000 bucks, for all the international hotels and international flights.
Rajesh, but I don't think Makemytrip is a fair comparison. How can you ever have a low-value transaction there? Unless you have, an AirAsia or SpiceJet deciding to drastically cut prices. I'm not sure that's a fair comparison.
No. So the reason, no, I wasn't trying to compare. Just to clarify, what I was trying to say that while there is a lot of growth that is happening on low-value transactions, there is also a lot of growth happening for high-value transactions, and the examples are international hotel bookings and international flights.
Yeah, I just have one follow-up question, and Rajesh, Upasana, Manoj, all three of you can come in on this. I mean, there was a story recently which spoke about how, while on the one hand, we're all very happy with smartphone penetration, about more and more people getting access to mobile internet, because that's seen as one of the enablers for digital payments. On the other hand, people are also saying that, income levels of Indians, say, in smaller towns and smaller cities is not so much, because what really happens is they end up substituting one expense for the other. So if they are spending on mobile internet, then, they perhaps cut back on a discretionary food item or a discretionary FMCG item that they would spend. So again, do we need a reality check here on, the actual spending power and the actual growth that we will see as far as digital payments is concerned?
Yeah, maybe I can go first, and then Manoj and Upasana can come in.
Sure.
So I think it's an important question that you raised. Fundamentally we need to keep in mind that the disposable income, and which is also kind of linked to the per capita income improvement of the Indians, that has to continuously improve. Now that is kind of linked to the GDP growth that is happening. So right now I think we are going through a phase which is a very, very actually good phase of high growth, and the income improving all the way. But again, if you compare it with China, there is still a long gap. Which we need to bridge. So I think that's very, very fundamental to any kind of spending, especially discretionary spending, which we need to keep in mind. But the other aspect is, when it comes to now, comparing it with saying spending on mobile internet versus cutting back on the other spends, that I'm not sure. And the reason why I say that is that the smartphone today is available very, very cheap. I mean, it is going to be 3,000, 4,000 rupees kind of a phone that you would need for you to be able to actually very conveniently buy stuff which you've been buying it otherwise. So it's not going to be necessarily, it's going to be sheer power of convenience, 24/7 handy with you. You have a bank account, you have UPI working, you have wallets working. And all what you have to do is you don't have to pay extra. In fact, for anything, you would actually get more deals on maybe internet, and you can also compare with tons of other kind of options without worrying about it. So it's so convenient for you. So I think the power is actually going with this instrument and mobile enabled by digital payment system in the hands of consumer. And they can start with their grocery stuff. I mean, they can start with, like Upasana was mentioning, vegetable stuff. I mean, or buying a rail ticket or buying a bus ticket. Anything can be done. So, that's how you would start. But fundamentally, you would obviously, the spending power would get linked to the disposable income that they would have.
Right. If the others want to come in on this, Upasana and Rajesh.
Yeah, actually I have some interesting anecdotal information to give you here. So, as we've been growing, what we have found is that tier 2 and tier 3 cities are very exciting for us because the next level of wallet users that are coming into the platform for MobiKwik are all users who are not banked and they want to add cash into the wallet and use it. So, as a matter of, real facts, we saw such an astounding demand for our cash pickup service in some cities like Jaipur and Surat and Patiala, that outside of metros we were forced to launch these cities very quickly. And Jaipur today contributes as much cash for MobiKwik as a large metro city. So what I'm trying to tell you is that people actually want to purchase things, and like Rajesh was saying, they might actually now have, for the first time in their life, they have access to a computing device which could be of a very low cost, 2,000, 3,000 rupees smartphone, and they may not even be using an internet pack throughout the month. They may use it for a short period of time, do a couple of Google searches, and find a website or a mobile site which is giving them the best deal on a product that they want to buy. And in order to purchase it, they are adding cash onto a wallet and then they are purchasing it. So a lot of demand actually for digital payments is coming from tier 2, tier 3 towns. And when you talk about displacing money that they would spend on other things, I would think that this is it's the right time when they are actually getting access to the best quality products at the optimized price available on the web, because the local store might offer them a similar product or service at a much higher cost.
I just want to come to the final part, which is this. While we are excited about all the game-changing technology that's coming in, I mean, the other day I was speaking to someone on UPI, and the call dropped perhaps 4 or 5 times. So again, do we have the requisite bandwidth that we need, or is that something that we need to build first, like UPI, like wallets, like payment banks? So closing comments from all of you, Manoj, Upasana, and Rajesh.
What I would say is, this is actually, I was, just complementing and supplementing to what Upasana had said earlier, which was, irrespective of form factor, whether it's mobile or otherwise, there is a lot of opportunity when we look at tier 3, tier 4 cities. And this also talks to financial inclusion. So when we look at the RBI, roadmap, which has been set across very, very categorically, when we look at POS, which is the point of sale terminals, today it has taken probably 25, 30 years since cards have become prevalent in the marketplace to get to about 1 million point of sale terminals. Now RBI has set for us all the issuers and merchant acquirers and the networks that within the next 3 years, it's taken us, like I said, maybe 25, 30 years to get to 1 million point of sale terminals. They want 3 million incremental terminals to be deployed in the next 3 years. And where are these terminals going to be deployed? They're going to be deployed in tier 3 and tier 4 cities primarily. It's not that they're not going to be deployed in the top 4 or 5 metros. So we are talking about a lot of financial inclusion that is going to happen in the next couple of years, whether the form factor is mobile or otherwise, but there will be a digital revolution.
Right.
So you spoke about bandwidth issues and mobile internet, whether users can afford to have a mobile internet always on. So very specifically, so a lot of our users are users who have cheap Android phones, and they also do not use data connectivity continuously. And we realized this once we started our offline merchant expansion. So currently we have about 100,000 retailers offline where a user can pay with their MobiKwik wallet. But we identified this data connectivity problem, and so what we have done about it is 2 different things. One, we've come up with a feature where a user who does not have internet enabled on his phone can open his MobiKwik app and can generate a unified or a random PIN, and that PIN will be acceptable at the merchant location. And this they can do without having internet access. So this is one of the first things we have done, because we want to ensure that offline payments happen seamlessly. A lot of users don't have access to data. Many times the stores are in basements where 3G or 2G connections don't work. So this is one of the solutions we've come up with. Another thing that we have tried to do in order to solve this problem is that a lot of times, so for a company like ours, we've not been around for 20 years. So we don't have such a large deployment of retailers where POS machines are deployed for card companies like Amex. So we found a way to solve that problem. We've created a product by which user will be able to generate a virtual card number from within the wallet app. and then that card number they can use anywhere online as well as offline in order to complete the payment. So I think just like what we are doing, I think a lot of other innovations I expect and welcome from other payment companies as well as banks in the sector. And I think a lot more needs to be done to solve payment problems, keeping in mind the infrastructure of India.
Right. Rajesh?
Yeah, so, interesting what she says, what just Upasana just said. A lot of this, the task that they have taken on their hand, and as all the payment companies, and by the way, even merchants, is essentially, I agree with you, because we do not have sufficient bandwidth, or, the infra backbone would always lag behind in our country, unfortunately. So therefore, but at the same time, I don't think, we need to wait for that to happen. I think there is enough pressure that is going on across the board. No one really likes, obviously, 4 calls dropping, and therefore I don't know whether the data will happen or not. So, we will continue to keep doing our side of job in terms of making sure within the defined constraints, what is that we could potentially do to ensure that customer still has the seamless experience. So that, I guess, will be the job on our part. But if we have to reach to tomorrow, let's say, and I don't think it is an impossible number to achieve, let's say 1 billion people kind of using mobile phone and, and doing e-commerce transactions in 15 years from now, we obviously have to continuously keep improving our infrastructure backbone. I mean, we can't just, kind of scale to that kind of level with, the client side of innovations, or the just kind of working within the constraints. That's not going to happen. So I think there is already enough pressure. There is already a lot of focus now for the last 2-3 years for sure, and huge amount of noise around what is that they need to do to improve the overall internet infrastructure. So I guess we'll have to just keep the pressure going. We will keep doing our innovation work going, but the infrastructure does need it's almost like a prerequisite if we have to get to that kind of scale.
Right. Thanks so much, Manoj, Upasana and Rajesh, for joining us on this very special episode of ET Now Startup Central. We certainly hope that gave you an all-round perspective of all the changes that we are seeing as far as payments is concerned, the past, present and future. Clearly, this is a space that all of us will be watching closely for all the disruptions that really are in store. Thank you so much for watching ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at @etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.